Hi, it's Ellen Heed.
And Jaya.
We're the founders of RSVP, where we teach new moms and couples how to end painful sex, restore libido and desire, and establish intimacy and connection so they can turn on their lust, love, and life.
Awesome. In this video, we're going to be talking more about libido and desire.
And how to bust the myth that moms are not sexual creatures.
What?
Well, Jaya, did you know that yet?
What? Moms aren't supposed to be sexy? No, really. We want to start a conversation and a community around this. And what that means is we want to know, how do you stay sexy? How do you, as a new mom or as a couple with young children, how are you guys staying sexy, with oatmeal all over? And I dealt with diapers and all that stuff. Sometimes it's just not very sexy.
Yeah.
But we also have a whole culture and a very sex-negative culture which reinforces this idea of the Madonna whore complex, or now that I have a baby, all my needs need to go towards my baby and my desires need to go towards my baby and not anything towards me or cultivating my own sexuality. So I think this is a really important myth to start busting. So please comment below, tell us your stories about how you stay juicy and alive, and help us break and bust down this myth. But we also have something else going against us, which are biology.
Well, biology is a really huge piece of this, and this is something that people are not understanding, is that during the breastfeeding period, a mother is hormonally biased towards her baby and away from her partner, that she's got a torrent of behavior-making hormones flowing as long as she's flowing, that is, as long as her milk is flowing, that create an allegiance with the baby and away from the husband or the partner, and that it's difficult for her to actually even know that this is going on. I know I've seen relationships of people who are very close to me actually nearly destroyed by people not understanding that this is what's happening, that as long as breastfeeding is happening, she wants that smooth, cuddly, sweet smelling baby in her arms and not her, stinky, hairy husband. We
actually had a woman write to us who said, "I love my sweet baby, my sweet children, but my hairy, stinky husband," this were her language. So that's where this is coming from, one of the women in our research study. But there are ways to overcome this.
Yes, there are ways to overcome this, and those ways are actually partly to trick her hormones into reconnection and intimacy back with her partner. Can you tell us some of those ways, Jaya?
Sure. I think the first thing that we have to do is start expanding our definition of what sex is. We think, if sexual intercourse is off the table, say maybe there's scar tissue
or pain in the pelvic floor, and yes, it may be important for the new mom to be relieved of the feeling like that she has to satisfy intercourse sex needs of her husband in the immediate postpartum period until the scars are melted away. More about that later.
What I see often is there's a resentment that's built up in the case of the mother, because there's all this pressure to have sex, and then pain is being introduced, and then it pushes them even more into the bond with their baby, which isn't, we're not saying that's a bad thing. We're just saying, yes, and you have a husband too, and creating that deeper bond with your husband helps you have a very strong family structure. So it's all needed.
It's like the bond between the mother and the husband needs to be primary in order to create a safe container for the child to grow up in. Whereas a lot of women start to sort of change and get their emotional needs only by their child, and the partner, the husband, sort of gets shunted off to the side somewhere, and then the child starts to feel like it's the child's responsibility to take care of the mother. And this is where things start to get a little wonky in the family structure in a way that's not so good.
Yeah. But the good news is there are things that you can do. And that starts, again, I'm going to go back to expanding sex. I have to always come back to the pleasure. And what we can do is be a little creative about sex. And think of it more, we think of sex as penis inside a vagina, go, 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 until you have an orgasm or ejaculation, and then we're done.
Yes.
And that's just so limited. And so expanding that into how can we play, how can we be creative, and what kinds of things can we do in the postpartum period that can help us keep that hormonal bond with our partner.
So what are your 3 hot tips?
3 hot ones. Well, I did that kind of funny. Anyway. The first one is, now I'm thinking all kinds of crazy thoughts, but the first one is making out with your partner. And this isn't just, you know, like making out naked. I'm talking about put your clothes back on.
Put your clothes back on.
Put your clothes back on, and you're going to actually create some mystery. Like, don't let him see all your sexy parts. Create some obstacle.
Like, you can't take my clothes off for the whole makeout session?
You can't take them off. Because
Ooh.
what does mystery and obstacle create?
Well, it creates intimacy and desire.
Yes.
That's so
more
interesting.
Hot sex. So, you know, I like to do things like, you can touch my sexy parts, but it has to be through my clothes.
Wow.
You know? So
That
I
sounds kind
think
of fun.
that is really fun. Remember those conditions when you were first meeting or when you were in high school? You know, that's a really good thing to think about in this time and get creative. What are the things you did then? Number 2 is erotic massage.
So what is an erotic massage, Jaya?
Well, an erotic massage can include the genitals, but it can also just be something that's very sexy and sensual. I would say include the genitals in this if you feel comfortable and you're not feeling too much pain, but you might, again, want to create a little obstacle here, a little boundary, perceived boundary, which might be, I don't want any penetration. You can massage my labia or my clitoris, and maybe, you know, I'll stroke your penis. But
also great for women who have a little issue or pain with the postpartum period.
And this also has a hormonal benefit.
Well, the hormonal benefit would be that when partners are engaging and touching each other, that same bonding hormone that's connecting her with the baby is starting to come up and reconnect the partner, the man and the woman together. And this is really crucial. It's a way of sort of, I hate to say it, but it's almost like a trick to keep her bonding with her husband and her baby instead of the baby instead of the husband.
Yeah, very important. Number 3 is oral lovemaking or oral sex. And, you know, again, getting creative here, and I really invite you ladies to really receive. This is one I'm still working on. It's really hard for us just to lay back and receive, but if your guy really, you know, he's
wanting you, yes.
Yep.
That's an option, especially if you're in a non-penetration phase in your sexual relationship. It's a way you can keep it hot and keep yourself sexually engaged and get those sex hormones starting to flow through you again, rather than just the hormones about baby caretaking and bonding.
And it's so hard for us in sex. We think we have to take care of each other and everything has to be mutual. So I really invite you to kind of just take those times to receive, or take those times when you feel juicy and ready to give.
So this is actually permission giving for women to be more receptive than ever in the postpartum period to the sexual attentions of their men, with certain boundaries to make it comfortable and make it delightful for her.
Yep. I'm going to have lots more of these juicy tips. We hope that you've gotten a lot of value out of this video, and you can visit us at reclaimedsex.com. Until then, go out and claim your love, lust, and life today.